With Genshin 1.3 comes a host of balance changes that has really shaken up Taebot. Amongst them is the unleashing of Rex Lapis himself. That's right, our boy is no longer on life support, and I'm happy to announce that this patch makes Zhongli feel like the war god we were promised. And this long-awaited buff has really validated all the Zhongli mains out there who invested their resources into him. We will no longer be instantly kicked from co-op play, and we can show people all the techniques that we've learned for this guy just to stay competitive with our crappy damage in the past. Anyways, let's dive right into his kit, the changes that were made, and how to play and build Zhongli as a main DPS in this definitive guide. I feel that this statement is important to make. My bias aside, it is important to understand that Geo as an element cannot take full advantage of the highest damage mechanic in this game, elemental reactions. Here is a quick example by Reddit user Luke-chan as to how crazy elemental reactions damage can get. With that said, Geo element units having higher base damage in their kits outside of elemental reactions make sense. Because thinking about it, the Geo reaction named Crystallized doesn't do any damage, so in a team setting or in an optimized setting, any Geo reactions you do is effectively stealing damage from a vape or a melt reaction, which lowers DPS overall. Now, I'm not saying don't play Geo, but I'm saying, you see high numbers? It's balanced in the fact that, in terms of late game min-maxing, Geo users cannot compete. Alright, let's go over his kit. Zhongli's elemental skill, named Dominus Lapidus, will create a pillar named a Stone Steel. The pillar can be climbed and used to block some attacks. This can be useful for mitigating damage and also annoying your co-op allies.
Think you can bully me?
This pillar will pulse AoE Geo damage every 2 seconds and resonate with other Geo objects to have them also pulse the same AoE Geo damage. In 1.3, this pulsing damage now has an added bonus scaling off of Zhongli's maximum HP. There is a fun little party trick that you can do on small enemies by putting an enemy in a knocked up state and then using the elemental skill to launch them in the air. They will take fall damage as they land. It's inconsistent and there's rarely a point in doing it, but hey, you know, if you want to flex on somebody, there you go. When holding his elemental skill, Zhongli creates a Jade Shield that acts similar to a Geo Shield in terms of resistances, while creating an AoE Geo damage shockwave in the process. This shockwave will drain a large amount of Geo element from enemies from up to 2 different targets. This means Geo armors and constructs are especially weak to this attack. Like all other shields, when you are hit while inside a shield, you will not be staggered. In 1.3, this hold elemental skill now also produces a pillar if one is not already on the field, or will refresh an old pillar. Not only that, but his Jade Shield also decreases the elemental and physical resistances of all enemies nearby the shield by 20%. The hold elemental skill also gets an increased stagger resistance during cast time. The Jade Shield created by your hold elemental skill will last for 20 seconds unless it is destroyed. His elemental burst, Planet Befalls, is eye candy for many onlookers. You see a giant meteor fall down, and then big damages, and then everybody's petrified. It's a cool skill, and it's great to have. It gives Zhongli that crowd control element, and who doesn't like big numbers? The CC, Petrification, lasts for 4 seconds unless you have Constellation 4, which then bumps it up to 6 seconds. Now, Petrified is unique in the fact that it does not allow the enemy to be knocked back by any of your attacks during the duration, so for some characters who may have spammable attacks that will knock enemies back, Petrify allows them to wail on the enemy without consequence. Petrify does not work on all enemies, and also, I think a lot of people don't consider the fact that it takes 2 seconds to cast this burst, and then you have to wait another 15 seconds to cast it again on a global cooldown. So for a support Zhongli, this is fine, but for a main DPS Zhongli, focusing mainly on the meteor is a net loss in your DPS. His elemental burst did not get changed in 1.3 itself. Zhongli's normal attack chains are swift, and before 1.3 did very little damage. This version, however, sees Zhongli's normal charge and plunge attack being boosted by 1.39% of his maximum HP. For a DPS Zhongli with no HP investment, this means that at level 90 we will be gaining about 300 or so extra damage on each of our attacks. This bonus damage is then increased by critical damage and physical bonus damage. I'm going to quickly go over his charge attack because I don't think there's much to cover here. That's a good amount of damage, but only one tick of the spear will do damage to an enemy at a time, so if multiple of your charge attack spears land on an enemy, it won't do anything. And also it can be jumped and dash cancelled at any time. I recommend focusing on getting his talent level up to 10 as fast as possible, because his normal attacks are going to be his bread and butter as a main DPS. Zhongli's normal attack sequence consists of 6 attacks. The first 3 moves are very fast, so much so that in the time it takes for Zhongli to start and finish his final 6th attack animation, you can already apply Zhongli's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd attack. Zhongli's 5th attack is also very unique, as it generates an object that will persist even if he were to be interrupted or cancelled out of his attack animation. Of course, the move must have already passed the startup frame for the 5th attack. Luckily for Zhongli, the startup to his 5th attack is only 5 frames. That's 1/12 of a second. This 5th attack, outside of looking sweet, is also where Zhongli can have fun in utilizing various cancel techniques to speed up his rotations, netting him more DPS. Here is a comparison of a normal attack sequence versus a 5th attack tap cancel versus a 5th attack jump cancel. Dash cancelling is faster than both of these options and provides iframes as well. You can also cancel with his elemental skill, but this is slower than all the other cancels. What is tap cancelling, dash cancelling, jump cancelling? I'm going to put a link in the description below if you want to learn more about that. Now that we got the basic techniques out the way, let's talk about Footstool. You've probably seen some footage of it already, but I'll do a quick overview anyways. Footstooling is a technique only accessible to tall characters where you use the enemy's hitbox to allow yourself to do a plunge attack on even ground. Of course, this will not work on all enemies and will require dash jumping to do so. Dash jumping is when you press the dash, then jump button immediately after pressing dash, before you even see the dash animation play out. If you're curious to know more about Footstool, I'll also put that technique in the description below. As you can see in the footage, Footstooling is also useful for avoiding damage, as well as applying damage. Just know that with Zhongli, in combination of cancelling his 5th attack and doing the Footstool, this will increase his DPS dramatically. Before we discuss build options for Zhongli, I wanted to discuss some of the most notable changes to him that make him very strong right now. The 3 standout changes are as follows. Change 1. Having HP scaling on each and every skill in his kit allows more build variety and flexibility for Zhongli. It also fixed Zhongli's low attack ratios on his normal attacks. So I think this is overall very healthy, as most Zhongli players will start seeing returns on Zhongli without crazy amounts of resource investment. The second most notable change, and the one that I'm most happy about, is the Jade Shield 20% resistance shred. This change is so good because it fixes 2 of Zhongli's main problems, at least for me. The first problem was, well, Zhongli was marketed as a DPS but touted as a support. Sure, okay, he's quote-unquote a support that can't give anything meaningful to allies, not without Constellation 2 anyways, I'm talking about for co-op. Sure, he does have a Petrify that can work against some enemies for co-op play, but realistically, that 4-second petrification at C0 is not worth the DPS loss that you'll be missing in the next 11 seconds while he's waiting for his burst to come back up. In pre-release, this 20% resistance shred was actually tied to petrification, and even then I had concerns with it because not all enemies are going to be susceptible to petrification. So in encounters without petrification, Zhongli really can't support anywhere. But the changes that put this shred onto the Jade Shield makes it so even at C0 with no investment, he can provide meaningful debuffs that boost an entire team's DPS, making him a very flexible and strong piece in any team composition now. And the last change is actually probably the strongest change, but is being slept on real hard, and that is the Geo Shield's effectiveness rework. Previously, Geo Shields was 250% effective against Geo Damage. While that's great and all, only 2 niche enemies dealt Geo Damage. With the rework, Geo Shields now are 150% effective against literally every single element plus physical damage. This means that while it's never as strong as any of the elemental shields, it's generally good overall. It's so noticeable that my Zhongli with low HP investments have been able to take 2 or 3 more attacks on the Jade Shield than I was previously able to before the patch. This means less time dodging and reapplying shield and more time doing damage, so I'm really happy about that. Now let's cover build options. For main DPS Zhongli, I mainly focus on these stats. Crit percent and crit damage I focus on in the same degree. Either or is great, both of them is even better. With attack percent coming in 3rd, energy recharge in 4th, and then I look for HP percent 5th. While you do net some more damage with HP percent now due to his added scaling, it is still not sizable enough to replace attack percent stat influence on the attack ratios of his abilities. The Zhongli you have been seeing in this video runs an all-rounder build. I am focusing on both geo damage and physical damage. This means I am not very specialized, but I can use my Zhongli in practically any content without a big loss in DPS. The artifact setup I use for this build is 2-piece Petra for 15% bonus geo damage and 2-piece bloodstained for a 25% boost in all physical damage. I am running a physical damage cup due to Zhongli passively getting geo damage bonus from level ups. For weapons, I use Vortex Vanquisher because it's fashion. It gives him an attack percent boost, which boosts both his geo damage and his physical damage, and also gives him a boost to his shield strength. If I were to say best in slot main DPS generalist weapon, I would definitely say Jade Spear, no contest, right? Crit is such a valuable stat that more of it is great. And then this is before even talking about the upcoming Staff of Homa that has been leaked. If it stays the way it is, that will probably give Vortex Vanquisher a run for its money. But I don't want to say anything on that now since we don't have the stats out yet. For a more physical damage oriented build, I would decide very early if I care about footstools or not. If I do not care about that technique because it doesn't work on all enemies, it's inconsistent, I would build 4-piece bullet straight up. It is the best choice here. It gives you more shield strength and the highest percent damage boost in his normal and charge attacks. Pair this up with a physical damage cup and a crescent pike and you will be top tier physical damage. No one can compete with you if it's just 1-to-1. Okay, if this is considering no team support. If you care about footstool, run 2-piece bloodstained and 2-piece gladiator with the physical damage cup. Bloodstained is nice comparative to bullet because you don't lose out too much on the damage boost, and it also works on his plunge attack. For a geo control build with Zhongli, we're going to be focusing more on his elemental skill resonance and trying to get the most out of his damage pulses and his meteor. To do this, we're going to build him simply with the 2-piece Petra and 2-piece gladiator for the maximum amount of attack damage that we can get, as well as the most amount of geo bonus damage. We're going to pair this up with a geo damage cup, and yeah, the weapons are going to be the same as an all-rounder build. Vortex Vanquisher is a good option. Jade Spear if you want to lean more into that damage. And we can add a 3rd weapon to the mix, the Skyward Spine / Favonius Lance, depending on if you're a main DPS or not, right? If you want to have his meteor up all the time, run energy recharge. With this build, you're probably going to be hitting like 100k meteors pretty easy. And if you want to just focus on that meteor, take out the 2-piece gladiator, put in 2-piece Noblesse, and you're going to have a field day. With all of the changes to the Geo element as a whole, Zhongli is probably now the best support piece to every Geo character in the game. With Geo Resonance now creating a Geo Resistance Shred, this allows Zhongli and Geo Control to deal big damage with every tick. Geo Traveler is probably one of his best partners, as Geo Traveler offers a 10% crit rate boost to all allies near his Elemental Burst object and provides energy generation for Zhongli. Of course, every Zhongli build also benefits greatly from a Superconduct comp. This could be Kea and Lisa, Diona and Fischl, Beidou and Ganyu. Anyone really, as long as you can produce Superconduct consistently, you are netting a huge DPS boost for Zhongli, because his normal attack chains are crazy now. Support that, alright? You're gonna see big numbers. I do want to give a special shout out to Xinyan as one of Zhongli's better solo supports. Although she is not Electro or Cryo, Xinyan at Constellation 4 is one of the best physical damage supports in the game. Her 4th Constellation gives anyone shielded by her unique shield a 15% physical damage bonus. Also, anyone hit with her elemental skill has a 15% physical damage resistance shred. This means that Xinyan could kinda replace Superconduct, not really, but think about it this way, right? If you have Xinyan, Bennett, and Mona for the big attack multipliers, and then you add Xinyan in there for the double pyro resonance to attack up, and now you have Zhongli there, right? So you can do something not Superconduct while supporting his physical damage. And then this brings me to a very experimental composition that I want to try out in the future once I have it built up. It's the Vape Core by Xinyan and Xingzhou that physical DPS Zhongli can run. We mentioned at the beginning of this video that Geo elemental reactions kind of steal damage, right? So with this build, you're going to focus mainly on physical DPS while having Xinyan and Xingzhou use the elemental burst. Xingzhou, of course, makes his water sword that comes out with every normal attack from anyone, right? So Zhongli's normal attack does the water swords. Cool, applies Hydro. Xinyan's his burst, if it hits the enemy or not, she creates a shield that pulses Pyro every second. Right? So now you have the Pyro and the Hydro consistently applying and hitting Vape on your enemies. This could lead to very good damage, combining that with like Sucrose or just high elemental reactions on Xingzhou or Xinyan. It requires testing for sure, but I'm kind of interested in seeing how that goes. So that might be a future video that I'll do for that team comp specifically. The final composition I wanted to show in this video is the Geo Freeze comp. The nice part of this comp is that it can fit in as part of your Superconduct team. Geo can shatter frozen enemies like a claymore and deal bonus physical damage to the enemy. Shatter scales off of elemental mastery and your character level, and does not scale off of physical damage bonus or your attack. So once you get a Superconduct team, consider adding a Hydro to this team to deal more physical damage. A nice thing to note is that if you deal shatter damage to a Superconducted enemy, they will take bonus damage. For Constellations, I will skip C3 and C5 due to them being overall talent level increases for his elemental skill and burst. His C1, Rock, the backbone of Earth, allows Zhongli to have two pillars out at the same time, giving him a sizable DPS increase, especially with the changes to the elemental skill damage scaling. His C2, Stone, the Jade of Cradle, is arguably his best constellation, allowing him to generate a Jade shield every time he uses his elemental burst. This shield applies to all allies even in co-op, and allows him to have 100% uptime on his shield, which also means that he gets that resistance shred in a tough fight. His C4, Topaz, Unbreakable and Fearless, adds 2 seconds of petrification time to his burst, as mentioned before. It's a nice to have, but not anything crazy. I wouldn't go for it if I was on a budget. His C6, Cryosis, Bounty of Dominator, offers him 8% capped healing on his shield. So every time you get hit, it will heal for up to 8% of your maximum health. I personally do not think that this constellation is very worth it, as it will not replace a main healer if you needed one. While also, with the new Geo shield changes, I think you're going to be taking way less damage than before anyways, so if you're barely taking any damage, why do you even need a heal? Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I covered everything you wanted to know about Zhongli while keeping it relatively simple. If this video has helped you out, consider supporting this channel by liking the video, sharing the Zhongli goodness with your friends, and of course subscribing for more awesome content if you already have not subscribed. I will be launching a channel Discord very soon, and will update the description with the Discord link once it is ready. I hope some of you guys will join me in that channel to Dairy Craft Zhongli, and we can develop new Zhongli technology together. If you wanted to directly support me, you can go ahead and buy me a coffee from the Ko-fi link in the description below. That cup of coffee goes a long way in keeping me up as I edit videos late into the night. Oh, also, if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments below. I try to read every single one, and I guarantee that every single feedback that I have received so far has gone a long way in helping me become a better video producer. And that's pretty much all I had. I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Peace.